Welcome to Sacred Rebels podcast, where we discuss life after trauma as we question societal norms and shatter stigmas. Are you a woman who longs for a sense of community and understanding? Well, stick around. There is a seat for you here. This is your host, Tay.
And co-host Amy.
And we're just two best friend millennial moms and entrepreneurs navigating life and motherhood while on a spiritual healing journey.
We don't do surface level, and we're definitely not your typical moms, so let's dig deep. We plan to cover it all and take you behind the scenes as we share our personal experiences, learn more about the holistic side of healing, and introduce all the incredible humans we've met along the way.
Join us as we share the good, the bad, and the ugly side of healing. We hope to help you step into your power. Thanks so much for listening. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Rebels. Tonight we have Jessica here again, and we are so honored to have her again, and we're going to speak a lot about, some misconceptions of Bufo and integration process and all of it, all the things. So after we start off with our big deep breath, she is going to read the card that she pulled.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Really expel all the air out. Big inhale through the nose, lift up, rise up, fill up. Open the heart. Exhale slow, let it go. Arrive in the space.
Okay. What card did you get?
I like this one. It's Releasing Allegiances. And I just want to show this because it's a woman that's kind of wrapped up in herself, giving herself love. And that's pretty much the context of this. It's talking about it is time to hold on to yourself and let go of another, even if it's just for a time. You've gained all that it was meant to be from that connection. Then it goes on to say you have completed many cycles in the vibrational frequency of consciousness that you are now being asked to release. You have been in that vibrational frequency for some time now. You have earned the right to step out of that frequency, out of the habits, relationships, and the possibilities that are limited to that outmoded frequency. It is now time to expand into higher frequencies of experience that will bring enhanced love, empowerment, and peace into your life. So
Wow.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And it goes on to say, this is a time for self-love, for paying attention to your own needs so that you're ready for that new frequency that you're stepping into, those new relationships.
It's so funny. I feel like that was our conversation all weekend, our personal conversation.
Yeah, I feel that way too, especially after this weekend, with what's happening and what's emerging through this medicine.
Yeah.
It is leaving some stuff behind, just for me personally, even as a facilitator, I feel like I went through some things this last year and, that I had to let go of and stepping into a new awareness and a new type of work that's emerging. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like a rebirth. That's exactly what I felt.
There's so in your life we have so many of those, right? That's the thing I think people get so stuck in, right? They get so attached to a piece, and then something else like that leaves, and then you have this whole new identity, and it's like, oh well, you've had all these things. It's like, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's the point to evolve as human beings.
Yeah, and you do have to let go of something to allow the new to come in, and I think we just get so attached to what we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
What's familiar.
Yeah.
And I think that this medicine particularly forces you to let go of fear.
Literally, you don't have a choice.
Which is a good segue for your experience, Taylor, this last weekend.
But you literally don't have a choice to let go of fear. But that's the most beautiful part, right? It's because this ego, this mind, this reality, it's so hard to move through fear sometimes. And so I feel like that's just the gift that this medicine gives you. It's you don't really have a fucking option. Once you're in it, that's it. You either let go or you don't.
Well, and in your case with what you're going to share, that was your initial experience.
Yeah.
But then, it was kind of terrifying for you.
Yeah.
And you came back.
Yeah.
That was,
I watched myself die. And then I came back. And I was just whoa. We talk about it all the time because she says her first experience was not like that at all. But, my best friend had a very similar experience that day. And same thing. She's like, yeah, you get to this black hole. And then all of a sudden, she's like, when she came out from her, she's like, thank God you told me about the black hole, because I thought I was literally going fucking nuts. Like, I thought I was dying. And I'm like, I know. That's like literally how it felt. I got to this black hole. All of a sudden, I was like expanding into nothing, into nothing, into nothing. And then all of a sudden, it went black, and I was seeing all these like scary faces, like ha ha, like kind of like these crazy faces, like sticking their tongue out at me, and like,
really,
yeah, just like nasty faces, and like kind of teasing me, like ha ha, like you did this to yourself, like, you know. And then boom, I like saw my mom in the mental hospital. I was like stuck in a mental hospital in a padded room. Like, I saw this. Like, I was in a padded room, and all my family had to come in. My kids, my husband, and my mom, they came in, and they said goodbye to me. And then all of a sudden, like, in the middle of that, I was like, you have to let it go. If you're going to be stuck in your mind like this, like, you have to let it go. And as soon as I let it go, that's when it, like, turned beautiful. I think that's when I, like, sat up, and I felt you. I felt you touch my shoulder, and I heard you say, you're okay, Taylor. And you, like, laid me back down. And then I was like, okay, I'm safe. I know where I am. And then that experience was fucking epic after I came back from the black hole.
But that is scary. That is, you know, people call that the void. I like to call it the womb.
Yeah.
Like, you're back in the womb.
Yeah, black,
And
darkness.
it's just black. It's just darkness, you know. And when we're in the womb as, you know, an infant, we don't know where we are. We don't have the consciousness of it. But to re-enter into that space,
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
you know, with that consciousness, that awareness, you know, it's with not knowing what it is, it can be a frightening place
Yeah.
to be. But if you think about it, that's the place where birth happens.
Exactly.
That's, you know,
It
creation.
changed my life. It took, I swear, that first experience, that my intention that time was like, I want to get rid of my sexual trauma. I want to like embody my divine feminine and feel confident in my body with my husband, and like be able to be okay with me. And that's exactly what that first experience gave me. And so for this time, my intention was, I need to let go of all this fear that I'm still carrying and like operating out of, like in my life and in business and the things that we do. Like, I'm just so fearful. I need to let it go. And that's exactly what this experience gave me. Like to a T, like anything I could have asked for, like it came, and I felt it, and I was just like, holy fuck. Like, how's this happening right now? That's why I kept just being like, wow. Wow. That's all I could say. I was like, wow. Wow.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I encourage people to not just come to a medicine experience, this particular medicine experience, one time.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if you
get
had
it now.
stopped, you know, I keep hitting that cord, sorry. But imagine if you had stopped at that one journey and had that just that one experience
I
and
cried
hadn't come
about
back
it.
to this. Because that has happened to people, you know, they'll have a frightening experience. They don't have any way to orient, because it's like, it's nothing you're going to ever experience until you experience it. There are medicines like ayahuasca. There's even ketamine, you know, treatment.
Yeah.
People who've worked with LSD, a lot of times they have that familiarity. Their body, their psyche, everything has that familiarness to being out of body, to being in an altered state, altered reality state. And for somebody, if you're not accustomed to that, then that first experience, especially being out of body, coming back to body, where you're kind of moving through the dimensions.
It's wild.
Which is what you opened your eyes to, which is why I laid you back.
It's funny because when I opened my eyes, I saw you, but you were so distorted, and it almost seemed like I was looking through fisheye lens.
Yeah.
Like, you were so close to me, but everything else was just like almost so far away that I was like, okay, I need to close my eyes again. And you like laid
it's
me
an
back.
altered state, which is another reason, you know, especially for, you know, first-time journeyers. And even, you know, after that, I keep your eyes covered with a cloth.
I think that's so smart.
Yeah, just because it's, you know, it's an inward journey anyway, but when the ego starts coming back online, it has an awareness that it's in a room. It's starting to recognize it's, you know, before it realizes it had, you know, a medicine experience, it's seeing the room. And it's not all coming together yet, because you're still coming back to body, and it's very disorienting.
I know. I enjoy keeping my eyes closed, personally. Every time I open my eyes, it's like I don't see what I want to see. And then I close my eyes, and it's like so beautiful again. That's what kept happening in where we were in that room. It was just like every time I would close my eyes, it would be like so pretty again.
Every single time I come back, I'm always talking, like I'm like the chattiest Kathy, and I'm always like repeating like the same thing. I'm like, it's like, what's the lesson? Or one, I was like, I'm so alone. Like I kept saying like, I'm so alone. I'm so alone. And then the first one was, I got you. I just was like, I got you. I got, like, it was like every single time I've had that, it's been like the same, like I'm like repeating like a mantra almost.
Your lesson, or your,
Yeah, and you don't even know what you're saying. I mean, like, you know, we could edit this out if you don't want me sharing this, but one of the things that you said is, who's taking care of Amy?
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, I'm staying somewhat emotionally distant in it, but, you know, afterwards thinking about it, like, I broke down in tears. Like,
Yeah.
like, who's taking care of Amy? But the good part about that is, as you were coming back online, you're like, your higher self was coaching you and saying, I got you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's,
Amy takes care of Amy.
that's right.
Amy's always taking care of Amy. Amy takes care of everybody else, but Amy takes care of Amy. And I for a while, it took me a little while to, like, because I started feeling sad about that. Like, I started to, like, have sadness. Like, I don't really have anybody that takes care of me. But it's like, why? Like, I should fucking be so proud of myself, because so that's the shift that has happened. It's
That's
like,
right.
I have taken care of me, and I'm going to stand in that power,
Yeah.
because in through all the craziness, all the fucked up shit that I've been through in my life, I have showed up for Amy, and in showing up for Amy, created this fucking place
Yep.
to show up for me.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, ultimately, I believe if people keep working with this medicine, they will learn how to show up for themselves.
Yeah, this is honestly something that I want to do like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Like, just to like be back in the medicine, get my shit straight. Because it's true. Like, I did not think that I would go back to it this quickly from 3 months ago. But in my mind, right, like after that first experience, I was like, oh my God, I'm set for fucking years, bitch. Like, I don't need to see anymore. Like, I saw it. I did it. I'm good. Like, I'm done. And then it's so true when they say, like, it starts to come back and it starts to call you, because, like, I started dreaming about it again, and I started dreaming that I was back in the medicine, and that I had, like, this message that I needed to see, and all the cards that I kept pulling were all about fear, and I was, like, sending them to Amy. I'm like, I can't make this shit up. Even to you, I was like, face your fears. What? I'm sorry, what? So I was like, I know I have to sit with this medicine again, and I'm so grateful that I did, because now I'm, like, not scared. Like, yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking to know that you're literally, like, your soul's going on a fucking, like, you're gone. Like, you're just, you know, that's a little terrifying. But to know the beauty and the lessons that you get from it, and to see yourself in that pure form, is just, like, such a gift. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
That's why I kept crying. I was so emotionally, like, grateful. Like, I just kept being like, what was I so scared of? And then I would just cry, because I'm like, I'm so, like, this is such a gift. Like, such a gift.
Cheat code. I call it the cheat
Yeah,
code.
it's such a gift. The cheat
We
code to
found the
life.
cheat code.
Well, you know, you say the cheat code, but one of the things I've learned from working with this medicine and facilitating is that this medicine won't allow you to bypass. It's not going to allow you to bypass. You're going to have to do the work. And
Yeah.
I know I hesitate to say work, but you are going to have to move through some very challenging energies sometimes. And it's either you stay back here and you stay stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, or you're going to move through those energies.
Yeah.
The medicine helps to allow those things that keep us stuck to emerge, and we can see them. But once we see them, okay, now what are we going to do with it?
Get to work.
You're going to have to move through those challenging
Yeah.
energies. And that's what the integration process is all about. You know, I noticed the part of your TikTok video where you're sharing that I did want to mention tonight. You were saying, you know, all of this stuff was released, some sexual trauma and fears, you know, and what else did you say? I don't want to, you know.
Yeah, just my trauma, my fear, the abandonment piece that I felt a little bit. Like, I just was, like, releasing so much. But it doesn't mean that it's gone, right? Like, I'm still working on those things.
So, yeah, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the bit of the caveat with this, because this medicine is like a Drano for the soul. It is going to get in there. It's going to clear out a lot of stuff that you're not even going to know about.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going to feel a release. You're going to feel like, you know, people have said it's like 10 years of therapy. They feel like a weight's been lifted from their shoulder.
That's how it feels.
It's going to clear.
Like the sense of peace that you feel almost.
Yeah, a lightness.
Yeah.
You feel different,
Yeah.
refreshed, like a different person. But at the same time, what it does is it reveals the things that are keeping you stuck are the places that you need in yourself to show love and compassion to. But what is the missing piece that you didn't have before you did Bufo is that there's clarity that's going to come through. You're going to change your perception about how you viewed those things is what changes. So once you have that clarity that comes through, then you don't see it the same way anymore. And just by that change of perception,
so true.
You know, like the thing that you feared before.
I know.
What's making the difference? It's how you're viewing it now.
Yeah.
That's the difference Bufo makes.
That's so true.
Right there.
Yeah. And that's what I meant by the cheat code, because it's like almost like it's like a direct awareness.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you don't have to do all this self-discovery, like years and years of therapy, like
To
it's
get to it,
to get
right.
there.
To the
You do
root
that. You
cause.
have
Right.
this experience,
Right.
and you're like, holy shit, this is the
Right.
fucking thing, because it's so in your face.
Yeah.
You like know, and then you're like, okay, now I know that this is the core wound that I need to like work.
That's right.
out.
It comes to the surface. And before, where you've been running from it, you know, your whole life, it's now you're like, I can face this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
don't
can
run.
face it. I mean, it will still feel like some turbulent energy sometimes you have to move through. But then as you move through it, which is what learning how to work with this medicine is all about, which is why I say come to it at least 3 times, because you see that it's all just an illusion.
Yeah.
Like fear is an illusion. Shame, we were talking about shame this morning. Shame is an illusion. All these things that we're running from are just illusions in this 3D matrix realm.
Yeah, programs that they've made us to feel small, to
Exactly.
create separation, to, you know, make us feel a type of way and create separation in communities.
Yeah.
Right, and separation from ourselves. Because the parts of
That's
us
what
that
it
carry
is.
the shame,
I
we
wanna-
run from.
I want to mention that, and I want to highlight on that, because that's what it is. I felt so connected to self. And for the longest time, especially as a sexual assault, childhood survivor, like I had no connection to my body. Like I was constantly disassociating, never in my body. Like it brought me back to myself.
Yes.
Like I have never felt so connected to myself and my intuition and my just everything. That,
who you are.
yeah,
Who you
that's
are.
the gift. Like it brought me back to self, and that's a fucking gift.
And that's why I look at Bufo as like almost like a wrecking ball, because it's like it comes in. I always think of Miley Cyrus on that wrecking ball when I picture this in my head. Miley's wearing a toad outfit. She's coming in, but you know there's like a shell over us. There's like a shell over our consciousness, and that keeps us disconnected from who we truly are. And it's I don't know what it is,
Yeah,
but
I was
it's
gonna
like
say, why do you think that is?
it breaks it open. You know, I think it's just because we're born into this particular realm, the 3D.
This world, yeah.
The 3D, it's a very dense place to exist. It's a tough, like heavy, like thick shell over us,
Yeah.
and it's like Bufo comes in like a wrecking ball, cracks that open. The crack begins with your very first ceremony.
Yeah.
And that's what you went through with your first ceremony. And then it was like the second ceremony, it was like the crack like fully split, and you were accessing your higher self.
bliss.
You're born.
Yeah.
You're born again. You're a true Christian, Taylor.
I know. I'm a true born again Christian.
You're a born again Christian.
But seriously, that's how it felt. An absolute rebirth. Like this specific last time, like I was just like, no, like I said goodbye to little me. Like I was just like, that's why I was so emotional. Like I got it from here, like the scared, sad little girl that has been like living in me still. Like I was like, I'm okay. Like it's all gonna be okay. Like you don't have to be here anymore. And I noticed that this time, my first time coming back to my body, I was just like, so my ego was just like, what do you look like right now? How long have you been out for? You need to get up. You know, your mom's waiting, your best friend's waiting, like all this stuff. Like you need to get up. You need to like shake it off and like stop. But every time I would open my eyes, I'd be still so fucked up. I'm like, no, just sit and fucking enjoy it. Like while it lasts, right? And I feel like that's why this experience that I had was way more, I went way deeper, because I allowed myself to, like I didn't give a shit if I was crying or what I looked like or how long I was out for, didn't care. Like, it was just so beautiful that I didn't want it to end, that I just, like, laid there and soaked it all in, was just like, I'm not coming out of this the same. Like, oh my God, wow.
But it's like when I use the roller coaster analogy sometimes when I'm talking to people before their journey, you know, I'll say it's like being a kid and you're going to get on this really huge roller coaster that you've been waiting to go to this theme park to ride. You know, your friends have talked about it. You're going to ride it now for the first time, but you're terrified. And so you grip the bar in front of you. You keep your eyes closed and you pretty much miss the whole ride. I mean, you're still going on the ride because you're in the roller coaster cart. So you're going to take the ride. That's like the first Bufo journey. And it's like, you got to just get to the end. And it's like, you become like the kid that once you have that experience, you kind of know what to expect. And then the next go around, you know, like in your case, you're throwing your hands up in the air and your eyes are, you know, open. You're like, wee! You're having fun with it, you know, because you can lean into it because you already know it is a scary thing. And like, that's what I call my sanity test. Like, if somebody comes in to have a journey and they're not a little bit nervous, then I'm like, okay, this person's fucking insane. Yeah. Like, they did not do their research, A, you know. Yeah. B, you know, they're not fully here. I don't know what's going on, because if you're not a little bit nervous approaching the most powerful entheogen known to humanity, then you're probably not sane.
Like, actually, like 5-MeO
and I'm not
going to
serve you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to serve you if you're not sane.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I don't know. Was I a little scared? I don't know. I don't think I...
Amy's crazy.
Yeah, Amy is fucking crazy.
She's fucking crazy, all right?
She fucking loves the medicine. She's like, I'm not scared. You shouldn't be scared. I'm like, I'm fucking scared.
I was never scared. I've lived such a fucking crazy life that I was just like, and carried so much pain for so long that if there was like something like, and I have done so much work and like I was in that time, I was in so much pain, and it was like, I was just like ready, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, there's relief on the other side of this. Like, I don't care how fucking scary it is.
That's how I was.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I was.
That's how I was my first time.
Yeah.
First time you saw me, like, I was cool as a cucumber. I was like, yeah, I'm fucking ready. Like, if this is going to help me, like, I'm ready, you know? Like, and at that point, we had done everything. I had tried everything. So I was like, I'm fucking ready. But then after experiencing the black hole, I was like, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. Like, I don't want to go back there. And you just were like, you know, every journey's different. I'm not going to promise you that you won't go back there, but I don't think you will. And I was like, all right, that's all I needed to hear, you know? Like, that's all I needed to hear.
That's a good thing to hit on too for a minute. You know, I've seen so many ceremonies, and that's why I know that, you know, every journey is different. You can have somebody, you know, come to a toad medicine experience and they go right to bliss, and you'll see those videos on TikTok and on YouTube, you know, where somebody, you know, comes back talking about their journey and they're like, oh, it was ecstatic. I went to total bliss. You know, it was incredible. You know, I was one with everything. And then you've got somebody that has a journey for their first time and it was utterly terrifying. Like, they did go to the void. You know, there was just complete blackness. I mean, my first time, I just went to a white light I had awareness that I was there, but I did not have any memory of who I was. Yeah. Or that I had been born, that I had a family. I was just here, and it scared the shit out of me because I thought, am I stuck here?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Forever. In my mind. I'm like, I thought I was stuck there. I'm dying. I might as well just let it go. Yeah. Because if I'm going to be stuck in my mind like this, I'm like...
It was the most terrifying thing.
Yeah, my subconscious, I think that's when my subconscious was like, just let it fucking go. Like, just let it go. Like, you're good. Let it go. Yeah. And then, boom, I was like a fucking little Cosmo flying through the cosmos, coming back to this dimension at, like, like, I don't even know the speed. Like, oh my gosh, just so overwhelming. And every time I come back, I get very, like, almost like I'm going to puke. Because I feel like I'm on a boat or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you ever watched Harry Potter and they can go into one of those spaces where they translate somewhere, but then they puke when they get there. It's like they're coming back. I
literally have to like breathe through it because when I get back to my body, I literally was just on the most epic journey. So I'm like, whoa. Like,
well, if you keep your eyes open, which if you if you continue with this medicine, you get more and more comfortable with it. And there's times where if your eyes are open and you're paying attention as you're coming back, the ego's coming back online, you can, and this is just my experience. There's people out there that might say something completely different, but I can see myself and feel myself moving through the different dimensions.
Yeah,
back
that's so
to
cool.
3D, to where my body is back here. I feel the weight of being back in body. But as I'm moving through, it's like I can feel the different degrees of the
Like
different
coming down,
dimensions
yeah.
coming back through to body.
I
It's
had
wild.
that experience in holding space.
You did? Okay.
Like being like, ooh, I'm my higher self. I'm up here. And then like right back down. It's like, oh, there I am again.
In your higher self, you're like, Amy who? Who's Amy?
Right.
You know,
Doesn't
then you come back
even
to body.
exist.
Oh,
You're like,
Amy, here you
Here
are.
we are. Here we go. All right.
So beautiful.
Talking about the roller coaster. Up, down, whoop. There we go. Here we are. Wait, this is happening.
So wait, so to maybe some like, curious listeners, what's it like being a Bufo facilitator? Like, what did you have to do? How many times have you had to sit with this medicine to serve?
Well,
and like, what are some
that's-
serious lessons that you've learned?
I'm really glad you're raising those questions, Taylor. Because we were talking about this today, that there are no regulations with this medicine right now. I mean, you've got some places where, you can serve it and there are some regulations, but yeah, without it there being regulations, there's no like formal training program, with traditional medicines that have a cultural history to them, like ayahuasca. You can be trained through a shaman to serve the medicine, but with Bufo, it's a relatively new medicine that's been emerging the last couple of decades, really gaining prominence now. But
You said like 70s earlier?
yeah, I believe it's the 70s where, it was first discovered. I'm not really even sure about the efficacy of that story, but it's only been known for like a few decades now.
Yeah.
And then there's people like Martin Ball that have been working with it, facilitating the synthetic version Jaguar, written books on it, So it's still a relatively new medicine. So without any kind of standardization for formalized training, you've got people that can just basically go and learn how to serve, go down and spend a week with the Siri tribe and then come back, being a self-proclaimed pseudo shaman and just start serving their friends, which is really scary. So, I had the privilege of working with, a psychiatrist. He'd been a psychiatrist for decades, worked in New York City. I'm not going to give too much information about him, but he has served tens of thousands. He's worked with the medicine for 12 years, gave up his psychiatric practice to just serve this medicine. So I was fortunate enough to train with him. He's a man in his 60s, so he's a seasoned, grounded man, had, been working with it himself, has done a lot of self-work, so he's just a really grounded, established person, just a beautiful human. And, having worked in the psychiatric industry and seeing, just the failure of the mental health industry and that it's really not helping people the way we need to be helped.
Yeah.
And then to work with this medicine. So, I was able to work with him for a year, trained with a couple of other facilitators at the same time that serve in have a different approach to serving medicine. And basically, I said to him, I'm not going to serve this medicine until you give me your blessing. And even then I wasn't completely sure I was going to serve it. But, you should have some kind of, train for a year, at least a year. It's going to take some time. I didn't work a job during my year of training. I just, every time I could to be around one of these facilitators, I was just there learning from them, just sitting, holding space, and then just gradually working up to, other parts of serving.
I can imagine you're seeing all these different journeys. You're having to hold space for people. So that in itself is like, I can't even comprehend it.
I'm saying 5 years. I'm like, I'm going to train for 5 years because I just, like, after witnessing it and, like, seeing, like, in, like, what, like, it's not something to be taken lightly. Like, it's
That's another
No,
thing.
it's
Everyone's
not.
like, oh, it's just
Like,
some fun trip. It's
yeah,
like, no.
No, it's not. And
nope,
honestly,
nope.
and everyone has a different belief on this, I'm sure. And, my mentor would probably have a different belief on this, but I'm not training anyone in their 20s. I'm not even going to train anyone in their 30s.
Yeah.
Because with this medicine, there has to be some life experience. And you have to have worked through a lot of your own shit.
Yeah.
Your own self-awareness, done your own, shadow retrieval, self-care, some groundedness to who you are as a person. Because, I personally, I know facilitators out there that are in their 20s and maybe even early 30s. I would not go to them.
Yeah.
I would not send anyone to them.
No.
Because, like,
I had
I'm 53
stipulations.
years old and
Yeah.
I've raised 7 kids. I pastored a church. It's like, I'm not going to feel comfortable going to some 20-year-old,
Yeah.
that's, serving this medicine and has no life experience, does not know how, because serving the medicine is only one part of this journey. It's only one part. The integration, the work that you're doing with the person before they even come to this medicine is so critical. The follow-up care.
Yeah.
So when people are, have different exiled parts emerging after a medicine experience, how are you going to help them
Yeah.
if you haven't done the work yourself?
Yeah.
So that's a critical piece to all of this.
And I mean, I'll share after my first journey in February, I was going through, it was like right at the height of the divorce. It's right in the battle of like everything that I'm going through with Gavin and his father, and and then like being like awoken to this state and like knowing like what I know and like seeing those things, like I was suicidal. I was like, none of this makes sense. Like, I know the truth. Like, I feel it.
Yeah.
I know that it's all love. You like have this like awakening, and then you have to like come back and like you have all this awareness about yourself. You have all this awareness about the collective and the universe and how beautiful it is and what it's meant to be. And then you're like,
What the fuck?
holy fuck, this is so fucking not right. This is not how we're supposed to live.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the integration piece and you don't have, people, the support after, you could be like
Lost.
Lost.
Completely lost.
yeah.
That's
And
what I
a lot
felt
of the
this
people
time.
go down to, these places, even with ayahuasca, and they go down to these retreats, and then they come back and they're like, the medicine didn't work, and I'm so depressed, and I'm so suicidal, and I'm so this. It's like, yeah, right, but how did you integrate it? Like, what did you
Yeah.
do with it? It's not just like, oh, you're going to go down to this place, this beautiful retreat spot, like have this experience in your life. It's just going to be beautiful. Like, no, it's not. It's not.
Right.
It's not it.
And honestly, what I'm seeing too as a facilitator, that the onus is not on them
Yeah.
to try to figure that out. You're trusting the facilitator that you are going to
Exactly.
to be able to guide you through that process. You need
Exactly.
a guide because you're going somewhere you've never been
Exactly.
as a person. So why would the onus be on you? So my heart goes out to those people. I mean, I was really kind of one of those people the first time I came to this medicine. It was like I was fumbling afterwards. I was having a really challenging time integrating because, I had a Kundalini awakening. It triggered a Kundalini awakening. So not only did I just have my first Bufo experience where like I just got blasted open.
Yeah, literally.
To the cosmos, and then come back to this and like, okay, how do, you've got this world here, and then you've got this reality that is the ultimate reality. And there's a huge transcendence between those two realities. Like, how do you bring those two together?
Yeah.
And if you don't have the proper guidance with someone who has already been traveling down that particular path, they're the guide. You
Yeah.
need a guide because you're going someplace you've never been.
Yeah. This time I was way more like, past couple days I've been like really irritable. The first time I wasn't. I was just like crying and grateful, and I'm still grateful, right? I'm still grateful, but like you said, I'm like, why? Like, now I'm back. Why? Like, why is it like this?
Just want to
like,
live up there.
Why? I'm just like all day today, like so annoyed. I'm like, going to school, have to wait in the fucking pickup line. I'm like, why? Like, why? But I'm still so grateful, right? Like, I still am grateful for this life, this human journey, my kids, all of it. Like, would not change my life for a fucking second. But just like the irritability of like what I felt and embodied to coming back to like such a dark, dense dimension, like you say, it's like, ugh, like, why?
Yeah.
But I think that the most beautiful thing about doing multiple is that you really realize that eventually you get to a place, and like, it's not like 100% of the time, but the majority of the time, like 80% of the time, I live in the embodied like love that I felt and like know that I've gotten and received, you know. But it's like 20% of the time, I have to remember that I'm also still a human. People aren't gonna fuck with me. This is like what me and you talked about, where it's like you're not gonna mistake my kindness for weakness just because I know that we're all love and like love.
Yeah.
You know
But
what I
that's
mean?
part
It's
of
like,
the integration too, is giving yourself permission to experience that. Like there's plenty of times where like I am not all love and light. And my kids will tell me, they're like, Mom, you're in your ego. And I'm like, I fucking am in my ego and I fucking love it.
Yeah.
You know, right now, you know, like they're saying almost like they're trying to make it look like the ego is something bad. The ego is the part of you in this 3D realm that is having the human experience. And the integration is integrating all of those parts of the ego into your higher true self.
Yeah, wow.
That's what integration is. So when you're doing, you know, the shadow work, when you're doing, you know, an IFS, you know, internal family systems, which is a model that I've been training with to help, you know, support integration, because you're going to those parts, like you mentioned the little girl.
Yeah.
So you're going to go through, for your integration, it's you going in your higher self. You're parenting you now. So
Yeah.
you're going and you're retrieving that little girl who is scared, who did suffer a trauma. And you, in your higher self, you're healing her.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing her, you're hearing her story, you're
God, so
witnessing
beautiful.
her and what she experienced when she wasn't protected. So now you're unburdening her and you're integrating her back to you. You're saying,
Yeah.
I will take care of you now. I will never let anything like that happen to you again.
Yeah.
That's the integration process. It's all of the exiled parts of you because of your suffering, your trauma, the programming. You're bringing all those back home.
Yeah.
So then there is no ego, because people are like, oh, my ego's gone. Well, if you live in this existence without an ego, it just means you have integrated it all into your higher self. Isn't that a beautiful thing? That is something that we should be able to reach in this lifetime. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my personal goal.
Yeah.
and there is no bad parts. The ego is not
There
bad.
is, right, exactly.
It's like we have the
That's
highest level of
integration.
stuff and we have the lowest level of stuff. It's like, are you operating at your highest level of all of your parts or your lowest level? We all have that.
Yeah.
But if you integrate, you know, every part that you've been running from because it carried shame.
yeah.
You know, it was, you know, it carried fear. It carried rejection.
Guilt.
Rejection's a big one. You know, you were rejected as a child, maybe
Yeah.
abandoned by a
Abandonment.
parent.
Yeah.
So that you carry this rejection. So then you start rejecting you
Yeah.
until your true self becomes the one that's at the helm of your life. And then the
Wow.
true self is the one that goes and retrieves the rejected part.
Yeah.
And you integrate that back to you.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
It's
Just
incredible.
it's just such a fucking gift. Truly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel grateful that you met Jessica and then she came into our lives, because, like, I would have never.
And we have to give a shout out to Jed,
Jed,
because
yes.
he always brings that up. He's like, I introduced you to Amy.
Yeah, I was, you know, Jed was, he worked with us because he worked for what was the nonprofit that he was working for the kids?
AmeriCorps?
AmeriCorps, yeah. So we
Oh,
had...
my best friend went to AmeriCorps.
At Revive, we had AmeriCorps volunteers, and then he joined the board, and we, like, randomly had a lunch. It was, like, right after my divorce. We randomly had a lunch, worked with Jess. We were doing some stuff with grant writing, and he was like, you need to meet my mom. And when I tell you, it was like the universe fucking smacked me over the head and was like my whole body was filled with God bumps. And I was just like,
Yep.
Got it.
I was like, yeah,
I was like, I need to meet your mom. And it was like 3 weeks after that. And it was the Lunar New Year,
Yep.
like everything that happened. And yeah, it was Jed, like super, super grateful. And that's what he said, you know, the last time I seen him, he was like, you know, it had nothing to do with Revive. Like, we met because you were supposed to meet my mom.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
I know.
Has Jed experienced the medicine?
No.
No.
None of my kids have.
Really?
Yeah.
None of them?
No, none of them.
Wow. Why do you think that is? They're just not ready?
Jed sat and held space.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's held space for me. You know, they're on their own journey, and this is something that I'm very passionate about, you know, and I've seen it change so many people's lives. But, you know, really, ultimately, I don't believe that everybody in this world
Should
has
do
to
it.
have
Yeah.
this
I agree.
medicine.
I agree.
Like, there are many ways to be able to access your higher self. I mean, Amy, you're doing breath work.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so for me, I am always constantly looking for other modalities that don't involve any medicine, that where you can access that space, you know, to start stripping back, separating out your ego from your higher self, connecting to who you really are. I mean, you know, microdosing mushrooms. My kids all microdose mushrooms.
Yeah.
You know, and they're having profound experiences
Just with mushrooms,
just with the microdosing,
I
you know,
agree, yeah.
connecting to who they really are, and the insights are coming in, the clarity is coming in. They're shedding old patterns that they're recognizing finally for the first time. So it's like, they're like, Mom, I don't really feel like I need to do Bufo right now.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
beautiful.
And I'm not ruling
Yeah.
it out, but maybe.
And you
know,
obviously can't push this on anyone. Like, they
No.
have to be ready for something like
Exactly.
this. Yeah.
This is you got to be called to it. There's got to be a stirring inside of you, like you
Yeah.
said you felt, and those are the ones that are meant for it.
I have a question. It was a med question. Can people that are on like like maintenance, like Suboxone and methadone, they have to be off of that, correct? Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
what I
have to be
figured.
detoxed off meds. Yeah.
Yeah, and those people who are working on weaning off, I recommend that they work with, you know, their psychiatric provider.
Yeah.
You know, let them know that, not that they're going to do Bufo, but that they want to wean off their medication, and to do it as slowly and as gradually as they can.
Yeah.
And then I work with them, you know, with the microdosing mushrooms, you know, for their final week that they're weaning off their meds, they start the microdosing. So it really softens and buffers that complete tapering off of their meds, because they've started microdosing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have found a lot of success with that.
I loved microdosing. I did it last year for like 2 months, and it was game changer for me.
Oh, it's a lifestyle for me now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm on for a month, off for 3 weeks, on for a month, off
Yeah.
for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Better
Yeah.
than.
It's science. They're rewiring the neural pathways of the brain. The plants are like, we have everything on this earth that we need, and we have been taught that we need to pay in billion-dollar industry, and it's just like, you know, it's just
Which
like
does not have our best interest in mind
none
at
of it.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the earth does.
Yes.
Because we are created from the same
That's
thing that
right.
made the earth. So if we're
That's
taking
right.
things from the earth, hello.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
I
like,
know.
but people are like scared. It's like, oh, you're scared to take
Well,
a secretion of a
think
toad,
about-
but you're going to go and take a pill from a doctor that he actually has no idea what chemicals or what's even
Yeah,
in
and he
that.
does not have any concern or care for you,
Yeah.
ultimately. Really, it's just a money-making industry.
Right. When you work in that field, I worked in that field for so long, and you work in like specifically the med industry, like they're pushing meds, and you know there's med salespeople that come and they're like, you should sell my medication because it's better than this
Yeah,
medication,
and then they get a kickback for
they
it.
get a
Yep.
kickback. The doctors are getting a kickback for prescribing this certain med, and it has no you know, it's like gabapentin. Gabapentin's one of those meds that you'll get for 27 different symptoms.
Yeah. It is.
You're like, oh, you're on gabapentin for nerve damage. Oh, you're on gabapentin for
Anxiety.
For anxiety,
Yeah.
you're on
Depression.
gabapentin for addiction. You're on gabapentin for bloody
Help you
nose.
sleep. I know, right?
Fucking bloody nose.
No, yeah, and you think about the war on drugs, you know, and it was, you know, it was really the war on consciousness expanding drugs.
Yes.
You know, and it was all the propaganda. So of course, you know, everybody just is so programmed, they're going to listen to it. It's all fear surrounding it, especially the older generations, have some fear surrounding it just from everything that they grew up through.
Drugs are bad. The war on drugs,
it's going to cause you to lose control. You're going to jump off a building. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to run into traffic. No, there are drugs that will cause that to happen for sure, but not these healing medicines.
Yeah, like methamphetamine, because it's a bunch of fucking people making shit in a lab.
Right.
You could end up jumping off of a building.
You can have a fuck you up.
So as like in your last few years of facilitating, has anything ever like seriously bad happened to someone during this in the medicine or from the medicine?
Not anyone that I've served. I've seen it happen. I've seen people that will consider themselves psychonauts. They'll go from facilitator to facilitator, ask for the highest dose they can get. It's some kind of personal drive inside of them. And I've seen people literally go into a state of psychosis from just going from medicine experience, and they're not integrating it. They're trying to bypass, because what happens in these journeys is you are accessing your higher self. And then you come back to the 3D and you're dealing with all the hurt, wounded parts of your ego. So you see the juxtaposition of like, oh, this is so beautiful in this realm. And that's part of like why people get depressed, because they come back here and they don't know how to integrate the lost, exiled parts of who they are that have suffered so much. So they want to bypass addressing and and healing because they don't really know how. And that's what I love about Dick Swartz's work with, IFS, because it is the approach of there's nothing pathologized in you. Like the church is pathologized. You're a sinner, even therapists have, in therapy, there's some modes of therapy that pathologize, like we talked about, all these disorders. You have a disorder. There's something wrong with you. So this is really the first approach that I know of that's a clinical approach to viewing all those parts of who you are, all the parts of the ego, and that there's nothing bad about you. It's really just witnessing and showing love and compassion and then healing that part yourself.
Yeah. I say that about AA. It's like they program you to be you're a mental defect. You're, like you have a disease of your mind. Like, that's the language.
Yeah, you have a disease, and you're going to have it for the rest of your life.
You're sick forever.
Yeah. And every single time you go to a meeting, you have to say, I'm Taylor, I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I'm Taylor, I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict. Every single time.
That's your mantra.
They
have programmed you to say that as your mantra.
To be sick.
To stay sick.
To stay sick.
It's
and not
fucking
access
crazy.
who you truly are.
It's fucking crazy. That's
it's
when I knew.
In a program.
Yeah, after like 5 years of that, that's when I knew. I was like, no, that's not who I am anymore. I'm not saying that anymore.
That's right.
Like that is not who I am. Like I don't. The idea that that's who we will be for the rest of our lives still just like baffles me, because that's not who we are anymore.
And now all the work that you have from people like Joe Dispenza, with all the work in epigenetics, it's showing that we can alter the expression, the gene expression.
Yes, literally.
We can do that.
We can literally alter it and rewire
just
neural
through
pathways.
meditation.
I know.
Just through meditation, we can alter that.
It's
we
wild.
have a different expression. So we are changing ourselves from the inside out.
Yeah.
We're not the same. I'm not the same. You're not the same. You're not the same.
I am not the same. I am not the same.
I feel like every like piece of my cellular makeup is different than I was a year ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100% same.
I feel like you've changed just since I've known you.
I know.
I have.
I say it all the time. I'm like, every time I see you, every few months, I'm like, there's just something different.
Yeah, it's just like evolving. It's really...
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And you're different, Taylor. I mean,
know.
There's a lightness, there's a vibrancy to you, there's a clarity in your energy.
I feel peace.
Lately,
more
that
than
you
ever.
didn't have like that first podcast I did with you. It was like
I feel
different.
Peace. Like I can't even explain it.
Well, it's funny because if you look at our picture of our first, we said this. Did we do a side by side?
We did, and we posted it because we looked so different.
in like the matter of 6 months. Like
Yeah.
from our first podcast.
We'll show you after. It's crazy.
Yeah, from our first podcast picture, like on the couch
To after Bufo. Literally, it's like first podcast
Wow.
after Bufo journey.
Wow.
and we're just like lit up,
Like
it's
glowing.
So we look,
Wow.
we like physically look different.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that we remark, as facilitators, we'll say, they look different. They look different. Their countenance
Yeah.
has changed. Their energy has changed.
Yeah.
After they come back from the journey, they're like, wow, yeah, getting rid of all that shit looks good on you.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
It's really just such a gift. And I feel so grateful for it.
I am extremely, extremely grateful. It's not, and that's like, I think one of the biggest messages I really want to like slam home to everyone is like, it's like the same thing I say about breath work. Like it's called work for a reason. Like this is not like we're going to go like do some mushrooms and ferry across the ground. Like this is fucking work. Like this is serious shit. It is not something to be, played with. Like it's not, you got to like tread lightly and understand that you are going to have to do some work. You're not just going to come have like an hour-long experience and you have a magic fix and a magic pill. Like, no, like get ready, like buckle the fuck up, because like if you're ready to actually like do some work and shed some shit and have some awarenesses and like, know that it's like, okay, you're going to do this, but this is the beginning of like a very long road. And it doesn't have to necessarily be long, because like we said, it's like a quick like awareness.
Yeah, and everyone's journey is different, and it can be a little frustrating. I've talked to people that did not have like that initial quintessential journey of having the awareness that they were one with everything. And sometimes for people that takes many journeys. But if you hear somebody that had that experience and you didn't, you can feel like you can come away from it feeling like I did something wrong.
Yeah, I didn't have the right experience. Yeah.
Right. I didn't have enough medicine. And that is impossible. It's impossible. You are not going to journey wrong. You may feel like you've done other things wrong, and that's the negative feedback loop that needs to be broken in your own mind.
Yeah.
And so it comes through in the medicine, but that's the way. Then we talked about this in the last podcast, I'm trying to guide people to help them to see that when the ego is coming back online, your true higher self, your spiritual body has made the journey, okay? Because your ego's offline. So that's not making the journey. So what's making the journey? It's your true spiritual self.
Yeah.
That's timeless, that's eternal.
Yeah. That's
making the journey. But your body's back here releasing. So the physical body is going to release, Then, as the ego's coming back on, you're still releasing because the medicine is still at work. It's got to move through, 3 more parts of your body. It's moving through the physical part because you're releasing. It's got to move through your emotional, energetic body, your mental, energetic body. So that's going to come through with thoughts, with your emotions, it's going to come through your feelings. So whatever you're feeling when the ego comes back online, whatever you're thinking, your first thoughts, if they feel negative or fearful, that's what's trying to leave.
Yep.
That's what's leaving you.
Yeah.
So that's what the medicine is showing you. This is your block. This is your stuckness.
Yep.
That the medicine is moving through. So when you're offline, it doesn't have any of those awarenesses to move through.
Yeah.
So as you're coming back online, that's going to move through that.
Yeah.
So if you learn how to work with the medicine, you'll recognize that. You'll start recognizing it and saying, oh, okay, this is what the medicine's showing me now. And you're not afraid of it anymore. Like you were like maybe the first or second journey.
And I would say too, this is like, being able to witness these journeys and like having this experience, the body piece of it, like 80% of the people come out of it shaking. So like, I just like can I know you like made a video on TikTok and on your Instagram about the importance of like shaking. Like that is a release that our bodies
energetic
like
release.
really, because it happens in breath work too, where like people will like shake. So really just like, people like when you're having these deep emotions like in normal life, or you're like really angry or you're sad, or
Work it out.
sit up and like shake, like shake your wrists out, shake your legs, shake your body. Cause like clearly that is like our body's innate intelligence, like really like shaking that.
Just watch what your children do. Watch what kids do.
Yeah.
Little kids before they're programmed to sit still. They're always wiggling. They're always shaking. It's like they got the leg, the legs going. They got the
always.
wiggles because their body is just naturally releasing anything that, is not meant for them to hold.
Yeah.
And they're just going to do it. And then, and they're playing too, which they're moving around, playing and releasing. Play is so important.
Play is so important. I think that's like a big lesson that I've learned this past year doing self-work with just like my inner child and, healing my inner child, parts of my inner child. It's like nothing is more healing to me than getting on the ground and like playing with my fucking kids and like watching them light up and come to new realizations. And like, it's just so innocent and beautiful. And it's just like, wow, like it's something so healing about it. Like just phones away, get on the floor, eye level, like, and just be. And it's so healing.
Yeah. One of my best friends, she and I, whenever we're together, we make a list of all the little kid activities that we can do together. And then we put them in a jar and we pull from them.
We should do this.
So we'll put all of those ideas in a jar and we'll pull from that jar. And, one of them is, finding the largest hill and rolling down, walking up to the top and starting and rolling down. And just that alone, like you can't be thinking about your grocery list. You can't be thinking about the project you're working on and what deadlines you have to meet because you're just like, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom.
Yeah, rolling.
Rolling. It's
so
a different
fun.
experience.
Yeah, just rolling.
When you're a grown-ass adult versus when you're a child, it hits differently. And you get to a point where you can't stop yourself. And you're just
the
like
momentum. You're rolling.
You can't stop until you get to the bottom, and there's grass in your hair, leaves in your hair, and you're just laughing, and it's just to get connected to that
play.
child. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
beautiful.
just take shit too seriously. Everyone's got a fucking stick up their ass. And they can't just like fucking let it be and just go have some fun. Like go skip. I like be like skipping down in the parking lot with the kids and like everyone's looking at me like a weirdo and I got my kids skipping through the parking lot. I'm like, you're just mad because you ain't skipping through the parking lot.
Yeah,
like
seriously.
Well, people's child is so. Well, I don't even say child. I my inner parts. I've got multiple children. I don't just have a lot of physical children. I have so many children in here. There's so many child parts, and really retrieving those parts. I saw that like you can't act like a child when the child is so wounded, and there's people that are just dealing with so many wounds.
Yeah.
And they carry so much anxiety, and it's not. You can say go roll down a hill, and they're just like, what?
Yeah.
They're just so burdened, and that's what I love. Again about toad
Bufo,
medicine is that it's going to help you to unburden yourself.
Yeah.
It's going to be the impetus that you need, the support that you need, because we need something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I just believe that, like you said, Amy, that Mother Earth decided this was time to reveal this to humanity because there's never a time that we need it more than now, especially with everything that's happening in the world. You know,
my mom did an
especially.
ayahuasca journey, and she said like the biggest message she got from it is that like Mother Nature is so sad. Like she's hurt.
Yeah.
She's sad. She's like, I can't even explain it. Like I was like, I felt the sadness of the earth. Like she was like, it was fucked.
Yeah, a lot of people come back from a Bufo journey saying the same thing. They're crying. And initially you might think, if you're holding space, oh, they're crying, for
Their own
themselves,
stuff, yeah.
Right, their own stuff. And they'll be weeping and wailing for what's happening to Mother Earth right now. And what's happening in the world, too.
Yeah, that's how I felt the other night. In my experience, as I was coming back, like I was just feeling this immense sadness and gratitude for what I had just experienced. But like, why is this world so dark? I think I even said it. Like this world is so dark. Like it's so dark. I just saw so much bright colors that are beyond my even color palette. Like, why is this world so dark? Like, so dark.
But I say it every single time I close off a class. It's like, do not allow this world to dim your light, because it is dark. Like, don't allow this dark world to dim your light, because the more that you allow the darkness to dim your light. That's less light and more darkness. So we like really just need to stay.
I love that. I love
You
that.
know, like we just need to like realize, yes, like not like be ignorant and like, you know, act like it's not happening, because it is happening. But the only thing that we have power of is making our light brighter, because brightness will always
That's right. That's right.
outcast
And that's
the
the
dark.
only way we are going to help anyone, help the earth, is by connecting to who our true self is and accessing self energy, integrating all those parts back in. You know,
Yeah.
that's what's raising our frequency. You know, and
Yeah.
as each person, one Bufo journey at a time, you know, raises their frequency, the collective is rising with that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how humanity is going to be changed.
That's it.
One
Yeah.
person at a time,
I
really.
It
believe
starts
that.
with you. Like everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to save the world. I want to save the world. Fucking save you.
Yeah.
Start
Save you.
operating
That's
as your
right.
higher self.
That's right.
And get there. And once you get there, then you're not causing harm, and nobody's causing harm, because
Exactly.
we don't cause harm as in our higher self.
right.
Like,
It's all love.
and so that's it, because it's like hurt people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have any hate inside of you, like
That's
for
right.
yourself, you're not going to hate others,
That's
because you don't
right.
hate yourself.
That's
like,
right. And heal people, heal people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that is it. Like, that is the one job you have, is to make your light brighter in this dark world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if everybody else is just making their own light brighter and not so consumed with what everybody else is fucking doing, and
Yeah.
it's like, you know, it's like people on the TV, I say it all the time, we're just like so living outside of our own reality and our own inner awareness,
Yeah.
that it's easier to focus on everybody else. And then you're just creating more darkness in the world with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because judgment comes in, and your inner critic comes in, and self-saboteur comes in, and it's like this whole shit of I'll never be good enough.
Well, any part that hasn't been integrated is going to still be in operation, you know. So if you're judging someone else, you're still judging yourself.
Yeah.
If you're criticizing someone else, you're still criticizing yourself. If you're, you know, hurting someone else in any way, you know, insulting them, that's a part of you that still has not been integrated.
Yeah.
You know, so as you integrate those parts, showing love and compassion and curiosity for those different parts that have been exiled, you know, you see the response from yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and then your cup is filled, you know, because
Yeah.
you've integrated. You can't, none of us can pour out of an empty cup,
Yeah.
you know, and and I love what Christ said, you know, love your neighbor as yourself, you know, until you
Yep.
really truly learn how to, all the parts of who you are, love those. Because if you haven't loved a part, like say that rejected part that is like was abandoned, and you haven't
Yeah.
learned how to love that part, any person that has that part in them, you're going to reject, because
Yeah.
you've rejected it in yourself.
Yeah.
So you cannot love anyone until you've loved yourself.
Yeah.
Every part.
All the parts.
All
Yeah.
the parts.
I keep bringing it up. Parts.
Yeah, well,
Love the
it's
parts.
true. I say it all the time. There isn't like a single piece of me, and fuck, I've done a lot of shameful ass shit that I could like outside program and be like, yeah, like, you know, that was shitty, that was this, that was that. But you know what? It's like, no, I like did it. Yep. And I learned, and I grow from it, and I love it, and I showed myself a lot of grace through it all. And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shared one with you this morning, you know?
Yeah.
So what would you say, like speaking of integration, how long do you think the integration process is? I know for me it was a little different, and this time I'm documenting it. I'm in the
Okay.
process of making a TikTok day by day
Okay,
to see.
that's good. Because, you know, I wrote an integration companion. It's I call it, you know, integration for the first 10 days, because from working with people, I've seen that the energies after a ceremony are going to be heightened for those first
Yeah.
10 days, you know, which, you know, initially when you do a journey, if you're struggling to integrate that and move through those more turbulent energies, because people do, like there's people that may be listening to this podcast and be like, yeah, I was one of those that, like, my anxiety was off the roof, and you know, they were like, when is this going to subside, Jess? I can't, you know, I don't know how much more I can take of this. And I'm like, give it 10 days, you know. And as soon as they got to the 10th day, they were like, oh my God, you're right. Something has shifted. And all this clarity started coming through for them. You know, like they were able to see where like why their anxiety was there, what was being hidden from them. They just had all these insights to where it made sense to them. Their perception was changed about it. So it's really the first 10 days. In the integration companion, you have guidance for each day. There's a goal. There's parts of the prayer, that I share my reflections about.
Yeah, the prayer is so fucking beautiful. Oh my God.
Right. And so everyone was talking about the prayer. So I've used the prayer as the template for the integration companion. I brought one tonight. I'll have to show it to you. But, I'm sharing my reflections, taking one part of the prayer each day with a daily goal. There's grounding suggestions. There's, ways to get you in your heart and out of your head to kind of bring those energies down. So first 10 days, you also, if you journey with me, you're going to have an integration call before the journey. You're going to have a separate integration call that first week after your journey, to help, have guidance to process what's coming through for you.
Yep.
So that, something that feels like really out of the ordinary for you, I could be like, oh no, that's completely normal, Taylor. And just that alone is going to make you feel better about it.
Yeah. I know my mom won't care me sharing it all this, but hers coming back, she was very irritable and scared and almost like, oh my God, what did I do? Maybe I shouldn't have done that right in those first few days. And I was like, Mom, this is a question for Jessica. Like, just message Jessica. Like, she'll help you. And then she immediately was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. Like, she told me it was normal. I'm like, yeah, it's very normal.
It is. Yeah. And you need, that's the part, why the guidance is so important, having somebody. And if, it's
and now
important.
She can't wait to do it again.
Right. And if you're somewhere, hearing this podcast and it's like, you're like, oh, well, how am I going to get to where Jessica is? And you have to get to, maybe there's another facilitator in your area, do your due diligence, ask how long that facilitator's been training, ask who she trained with or he trained with, ask for personal references from people who have journeyed with that person. How was their experience? I have a list of people that I have ready that said, Jess, if you ever need me to share my experience, I will share this. Just give them my number, so that they can see, this person went through it. This is what their experience was. And it just helps another journeyer, to feel safe.
You could tell anybody to call me, but I'm also like I'm like an anatomy. I like go and like do medicine and then I'll be like at the club.
Literally.
Yeah, that is an anomaly.
She did the medicine and then was at a political event the next day. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that is not recommended, Amy.
Yeah, we don't, But
we don't. But no, like my first journey, it took like about a week, I would say, for my emotions to like kind of settle. I was like so heightened and crying all the time, like good cry, but like I was just like so like emotional. And then today, it's only been 2 days, so I documented yesterday and I documented today. And in a week, I'm going to do my little TikTok video day by day.
Okay,
just kind of record how I'm feeling, what came up, what did I do today.
Now you've kind of eased into it. You're not gripping that bar so tightly anymore.
Yes.
So just the fact that you've relaxed, I share this about a woman in labor, when she's clenching and she's afraid, her body's not going to open up. It's the same way with this medicine. It's like once you start having some experiences with it and you develop a relationship with it where you understand the nature of it and how it moves, energetically through you
just
after
allow
a journey.
whatever to come to come.
Then you want to be very intentional about that.
Yeah.
You're like setting space aside like you're doing so that you can tune in to what's emerging for you and really work with it instead of like just, oh, I can't wait for this is over. Like you might feel with the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Journaling is huge.
Yeah.
So huge.
I literally now have like a journal in my car. I have a journal here. And so like whenever, because like that's when things are coming up and I know that the things are coming up. The thing, it's like, okay, I just need to like write this down.
Write it down.
And I go back and I look at the things that I'm like writing. Like, because sometimes I like black out and I'm just like writing and journaling and asking questions. Because that's where you can really tap into your higher self too. You can like ask your own questions. You really sink into that.
That's right.
So
that's good.
That's a huge like piece for my integration is journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Same. And a dream journal because my dreams.
Oh, God.
That's another thing. My dreams after Bufo.
Yes.
OMG.
Yeah.
Jessica
Yes.
haunts my dreams. I'm like, Jessica, every night I fall asleep, I see your face.
She was texting me, "You're in my dream again last night."
It's literally her as like this
That
earth
happens.
goddess.
I should apologize ahead of time to people. I'm sorry if I show up in your
Yeah,
dreams.
but you
I'm
guys,
not-
she's a literal earth angel, so
Yeah,
you'll be
like a
blessed in
fairy
your
nymph.
dreams.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like-
you'd be blessed in your dreams.
Every night, like after a journey, like I for like almost a month, when I fall asleep, it's like I'm like in that meditative like space, like right before you fall
Yep.
asleep. I'm back in it. I'm feeling the bliss, and then Jess's face and like all these patterns come, and it's just like for me, it's like a very clear sign that I'm like I'm on the path. I'm doing what I need to be doing.
The woman in white's here.
Yeah. In all of her goddess and glory. But yeah.
That's hilarious.
But I text her. I'm like, you were in my dreams.
But I never used to keep a dream journal, like ever, because I've always been like a lucid dreamer. Like I vivid dream. Like I always lucid dream because I have narcolepsy, so I've never really kept a dream journal, and everyone's always recommended it. But ever since my first ceremony, I swear to God, I started dream journaling because I was like, holy shit, like this shit can't be like a coincidence. Like the stuff that would come up and like the messages, I'm like,
Yeah, that's
nope,
important.
I need to
That's
write it down.
important.
I need to
Yeah,
write it down.
it's
I need
what's
to
coming
remember
through.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scenarios that at first you might not understand, weeks later will be like, oh, that's why I dreamt this. Like that is why. So yeah, just very interesting. All right, I got one last question. Hold on. One last question. Because you've lived and kind of like been in the church world and, you know, grew up in that space, what do you think happens to us when we die?
Oh God.
I know. It might sound morbid, but it's a serious question
Well,
that I get all the time.
yes.
Like since this experience.
And I don't have like one answer for that because, you know, I'm one of those, I have this crazy, what do you call it? Fetish, not a fetish. It wouldn't be a fetish, but I love listening to near-death experiences. I've read so many books on near-death experiences. I listen to the near-death podcast. I mean,
Yep.
for fun, like, you know, I just like to listen to it whenever I'm traveling. I'm fascinated by stories of people who have gone to the other side and have come back, you know, and then I listen to some real crazies out there on Instagram that, you know, are channeling aliens and I'm just like, oh, well, this is really interesting. They're kind of explaining what happens after, and I'm not sure what I believe about that. But, you know, I mean, I know in Bufo.
Do you think we go into that non-duality at first? Like, do you think?
I don't know, but when I started working with Bufo, like before I did Bufo, and this is what Chris and I were talking about yesterday, you know, between some ceremonies, but we were saying how, oh God, I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
What happens when we die? Like, where do you think we go?
Oh, yeah. So when I started working with Bufo, you know, I never, before that, I didn't fear death. I had no fear of death. And then I started working with Bufo, and all of a sudden, like, all my fears are surfacing. So this fear of death, you know, started coming through, and I was just like, oh my God, I've got such a fear of death. I don't want to experience this. You know, that's the two fears that we have as humans. The two most prevalent fears are the fear of death and the fear of losing your mind.
I remember you telling me that.
You know,
I was
and
just
so Bufo forced me to work through both of those energies.
Yeah.
You know, thinking I was going to lose my mind and being afraid to die.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay, I've already fucking lost my mind. So I'm not afraid of that, you know, and I'm no longer afraid of death. So it's like, you know, there's just so much that's unknown to us. And that's what I love about this medicine is that I'm not afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
Like I used to be.
Yeah.
It's like, and that helps me to take risks, you know, not absurd, stupid, crazy risks, but like risks that are in alignment with me moving into, I guess, like what that card was talking about, to pull it back around, you know, letting go of the safety, letting go of the shore, launching out into deeper waters, you know, and being an adventurer instead of like being stuck on the shore because you're too afraid of those waters. And so I'm not afraid of death any longer. I'm not afraid of living any longer because I used to be terrified to live.
Yeah.
So now the unknown is just an adventure to me. So
I'm always just
I don't know.
curious too. I'm really fascinated with like, you know, near-death experiences and all the things because I had one myself, and I I don't remember my experience. Everyone always asks me, like, do you remember? And I'm like, no, like, all I remember is feeling, like, so warm and it being so bright. Like, the cliche white light, like, it was so warm and bright, and that's all I remember. And then by the time, like, next thing I know, I'm, like, being, like, revived, and they're just like, oh, my God, like, we thought we lost you. And I was just like, what? Like, had no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember. I've never had dreams about it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but they say that like 5-MeO DMT gets released from your brain when you're born and when you die, right?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Well, it's not the 5-MeO. It's just regular
DMT.
NMDMT.
Okay.
Yeah, DMT.
Okay.
But I'll say this, because this is like the best way that I've been able to wrap my head around death and life, this like thing, right? It's like in doing breath work, like we know this, right?
Yeah.
When the physical body, you go to a funeral and there's a person laying there and they're dead there and they're just laying. The only thing that's missing is their breath.
Yeah, there's
And we say that, in Sanskrit, the word breath means spirit. So it's our
Yeah.
connection to breath. So think about where breath goes.
yeah. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you die,
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
where does breath go?
Yeah.
Where does the oxygen, you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
That's
just are.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And to me, I don't care if I'm obliterated, like I just go back to source and I just become one with that and have no awareness of anything else, and then I'm reborn into something
to
else.
choose.
I'm excited about that. That doesn't terrify me like it used to. It's like the next great adventure.
Yeah.
And, this body, like you mentioned dreaming. I love being asleep. I love dreaming because I'm out of body.
Yeah.
I love being out of body. It
Yeah.
feels so fucking amazing to be out of body.
Yeah.
You can fly. You can be a superhero.
Yeah.
You can move things with your mind. That's exciting to
Yeah.
me.
It is exciting.
You could be in one place in 1 second and then another place in another second. That's to me what I think 5D is like. Living, I don't know, but being back here, like I wake up and I'm just like, oh, fuck, I'm back. I'm back in my body. Okay, let's do this again today.
Yeah. I know. I am very into all like the mystical, like I read fantasy books, like I'm obsessed with the idea of like that there's more out there.
Oh yeah, where do they come up with those ideas?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't come up with something that doesn't exist.
I believe it. I feel it. Like I just know, and I can't wait to
Yeah.
experience that either. Like I'm the same way. I have such a fear of something happening to my kids, but I think that's normal and natural for every mother, right? Like that. I'm not like. At the end of the day, I know for a fact if anything, God forbid, ever happens to any of us, like that's meant to be. Like I never question that, but that's about it. And I always get that question since I've done Bufo. So like I wanted to ask you that, like what your thoughts on that were, especially growing up like in the church in the background that you had, like heaven and hell, like,
Well, I think, all of the major religions have a concept of the afterlife. There has to be some verity, some validity to it, because where are we coming up with this?
Yeah.
We can't imagine what doesn't exist. So we know we're all eternal, that we live forever. So, somehow who we are gets born again
Yep.
into another existence.
Yep.
I truly believe that what we do in this lifetime is going to affect the next life, because whatever frequency we're living on now is going to affect the frequency that we're on in the next
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's
All
so it's
connected and interwoven.
yeah. So it's, karma. I don't have like the traditional view of karma, but yeah, what we do does matter here, and, I know I told you to watch that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because, in that movie, they're talking about two, polar opposites of like views on the world. This world is a hard place to be. And then, I don't want to give away the story, but the daughter in it has gone to the opposite end of like just complete nihilism. And she has no hope for humanity, for the future, for anything. And then on the other end is the father who sees the same absurdity, but chooses to be kind, chooses to love, through it all. And so it's like, I think we're all given that choice. This is a crazy, fucked up world. It doesn't make hardly any sense. Like, why are we even here? Like, what is this body? What is consciousness? What is all these different realities? But at the end of the day, it's like, be kind.
Yeah.
Be kind.
You're
Show
choosing.
love. Yeah, choose.
And just have the awareness you're choosing everything you're choosing. I talked about it on my live this morning on the app. It's like, if you're choosing to look at it a certain way, that's what you're choosing. You have two ways to look at it. You could look at it through the positive light, or you could look at it through the negative light. It's whatever, however you're showing up, that's what you're choosing to look at. Same thing. It's like, it's the same thing when, like, kids grow up in multiple homes. Like, you know what I mean? Or, like, multiple siblings.
Yeah.
And every single sibling has a different
view on it. Yeah.
a view on an experience in the same household.
Experiencing the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you don't know what you don't know, right? And so if you don't have the awareness, you don't have a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
You only have a choice based on your level of awareness. And that's what I love, bringing it back around to Bufo. That's what I love about Bufo, because it does bring in clarity that
So
you
much
did
clarity.
not have before. You will see things differently. And that's how you can change your mind,
Yeah.
is by seeing things differently.
Change your
Radical
mind, change your
awareness.
life.
Exactly.
Radical awareness.
Yes, this was so beautiful.
It's not like, oh, it's just a little tap on the butt. It's like, no, you're getting the wooden fucking paddle, bitch. You're getting, like, hit over the head with the fucking awareness. You're
I
like,
came in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
literally.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. It's not a gentle tap.
Yeah.
So good. Well, we appreciate you. I know this is going to answer so many questions for a lot of people out there. And if there's one thing that you want to leave us with and leave our listeners with, what would it be? A life lesson, a quote, a experience? If there's one thing.
Well, I think with talking about integration with this podcast, I would say, if you're going to have a Bufo experience, work with a trained facilitator that is going to be with you before the journey and understand who you are, your whole medical screening, psych screening, all of that. And, someone that's going to be with you after the journey to walk you through especially those first 10 days. And then we'll continue to work with you if you need support.
Yep. Agreed.
For sure.
Yeah.
You need the support.
Yeah. And I recommend finding someone that you feel safe with. And I think that was a huge part of me being like, okay, I feel comfortable after I met you. Like maybe meet this person first if you have the opportunity to do so. Because I felt like as soon as I met you and felt your energy, I was like, okay, like this is someone I could feel safe with. And
that's why I do the Zoom calls beforehand.
Yeah.
We're on that call for about an hour. And we're just getting to, know each other and sit in each other's energy and just talk about intention and talk about the nature of the medicine. So the person feels like they're prepared going into the experience, that as much of the mystery that I can personally remove from it, I try to remove it. I know that, going to anything new, going to a new dentist, or getting a tooth filled for the first time, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
So you want to really demystify the experience for someone heading into it, especially the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was beautiful.
Yeah,
It's always
thanks,
fun.
guys.
One hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. We'll close out the same way we start. Expel all the energy out. Big inhale, lift up, rise up, fill up. And then let that shit go. Thank y'all for listening.
Love you.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. It means the world. As always, we want to end this episode by reminding you that we are not medical professionals and we are not giving any type of medical advice. We are simply sharing our experience and solutions.
We are here with the intentions of reminding you that you are never alone and that everyone's healing journey is unique to the individual. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated. Stay well, Sacred Rebels. See you next time.